It was a strange game because at the start Chelsea were dominant, or quite dominant, without creating too many chances. Most of their threat came from set plays. They had about 3 corners on the trot where they hit the crossbar and sometimes straight from the corner. The goalkeeper, Bert Leno, didn't play particularly well in that early period of the game. And then, as Chelsea have done on many occasions, they went to sleep and Cucurella got sent off, after not too long, and that changed the whole game. And if Fulham had really gone for the jugular, I think they could have beaten Chelsea quite easily. But then they backed off and they allowed Chelsea to get back into the game, and Cole Palmer had more touches of the ball. Neto started to get involved more in the game. They made a change. Fernandes came off and the captain came on. James came on into midfield, and it gave them a little lift. And they got their equaliser. But from that moment on, they then went back into their shells, and Fulham started to play again. They got crosses into the box. They got more balls into the danger area. They got the ball forward quicker. And in the end, probably just about deserved their win. And Harry Wilson at the moment is a player that is on top form. Scored a very good goal. But from Chelsea's point of view, yes, they showed some fight in the second half. But they looked a bit fragmented at times. There was too much space sometimes for Harry Wilson to come short and Smith Rowe to come short. So there was a big space between the defenders and the midfield players. I think he's got a lot of work to do at the moment, Liam Rosenior.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you actually make of this Chelsea team as he finds it right now, Robbo?
One that I think is struggling to find its identity, struggling to find exactly what they're trying to do. At times they play slowly out from the back without too much penetration. Other times they try and go longer, and not always at the right time do they do either thing. There seems to be some disharmony at times. A couple of substitutions were made today, and the players argued over those substitutions. So, I think he's got a lot of work to do. And I think the players are looking at the club and thinking, are we going down the right route here? So Liam Rosenior has got to get results very, very quickly, I feel, just to get everybody on board, to get the crowd on board, to get the players on board, and maybe even to get the people who made the appointment on board as well.
Yeah, to Robbo's point, it's not going to be easy for him, is it?
No, it's not. And we've spoken about the job that Maresca did, certainly in trying to get some kind of control around Chelsea's dressing room and the numbers that they have in there. I certainly have been fairly critical of some of these signings. I will say I thought Liam Delap was as good as I've seen him in the blue of Chelsea today. So at least there's that as far as a positive goes. But to Robbo's point, you dominated the game, and somehow Chelsea have this way of shooting themselves in the foot. The red card came as simply and from a Chelsea perspective, as stupidly as you can expect. And from there, you're always up against it. I will also say, I'll double down on what Robbo was saying, what a footballer Harry Wilson is. And he showed it. Okay, again, Chelsea had 10 men. Harry Wilson was allowed to boss that midfield, was running in behind, getting things short. What a player. And certainly Chelsea, or the 10 men of Chelsea, didn't have an answer for that. Fulham, and again, to Robbo's point, control the game. Harry Wilson had a goal disallowed for offside, rightly so, Raul Jimenez. And then they just then dropped off and allowed Chelsea to play, particularly early in the second half. And then Chelsea score, and again, they go to sleep again. So it's just this weird kind of dynamic about the Chelsea team. You can show yourself as being so good, but then at the same time, sit back, defend, don't look yourself, and make some really sloppy mistakes. Now, how you fix that is Liam Rosenior will have to figure out. That's a big ask in getting this team who are as inconsistent even during the course of a 90 minutes, as you will see.
So they lack consistency and continuity.
Yeah.
You know what resolves that? Coaching change.
Yeah.
When you don't have continuity, it's great to make changes.
If you're a player with that chaos behind you that Chelsea have had, what do you want this new manager coming in and doing, Ale?
Right. Well, I just mentioned consistency and continuity. That would be a place to start, but you don't develop that overnight. And so, if I'm a player in that locker room, and I'm a little confused as to why the guy that was here is no longer here, right? And I'm trying to figure out what my role is within this team. I think this is now, as it is the case when any manager, new manager comes in, an opportunity for those that weren't playing to say, hey, maybe I'm the guy. I wasn't being taken into consideration. Maybe I'm the guy. For those that are playing, they have to be at their best and make an initial impression that actually is worthwhile. This is true for any manager and for any player. New manager comes in, he's evaluating. And he owes nothing to any of these players. For them, all these players, or for him, all these players have now an opportunity. Prove something. Show me something. We are in the show me stage for Chelsea players, if indeed they want to be part of what's ahead in the future of Chelsea. But we don't even know what that is. We don't know what the immediate future of Chelsea is. We don't know what the long-term future of Chelsea is. Because if Liam Rosenior comes in and says, well, I need another player here and I need another player there, and I'm not quite certain that this is the direction we want to go, or is he just a yes man? And that is the perception that we get from him coming in, is that, hey, this guy in the short period is going to be a yes man. He's going to say yes to those above him so that then he's allowed to work. But at some point, he's going to want to have his team. And none of these players are part of his team.
To that point, to Ali's theme around consistency and continuity, Liam Rosenior needs to know who his starting 11 is and stick with it. I think one of the big criticisms around...
And how do you do that in the middle of the season, Shaq?
One of the big criticisms around Maresca is you never quite knew who the midfield was going to be, and it seemed to change from game to game. You never knew who the back four was going to be. That seemed to change from game to game. You use Liam Delap in certain games and then not in others, and some you use João Pedro. Figure out who's your 11 and figure out which 11 best suits your style of football that you're going to be playing at Chelsea, and stick with it. Never mind this rotation for rotation's sake, because you might have games coming up in midweek or whatever it may be. Figure out who your starting 11 is, figure out who your preferred options off the bench are, and stick with that. Be consistent with that.
Now that we have got you, Stewart, were you surprised with how it ended with Maresca?
Well, once he criticised the board and said that he had that terrible 48 hours and said all those things, he was always going to be on his bike. But just going back to the point you were making there about consistency, now, one of his complaints, and the reason that he didn't like the situation at Chelsea anymore, is because he was being told, so he says, or so it's being intimated, by the medical team and the sports science team, that you have to rotate the team. You have to play this player and you have to play that player. You can only play this player so long. So how do you get consistency if you're the manager? When you want to maybe say, I want to stick with the same 11, and they're in charge, because that's what they did when they took him on, apparently. They told him, we're going to be in charge of when the minutes that players play and all this sort of stuff. And it'll be the same under Liam Rosenior, because the medical side is still there. There's the same people running the club, the same people in positions that are telling the manager what to do. So it looks as though the board are going to be managing the manager rather than the other way around. So it's going to be very, very difficult for Liam Rosenior to get any sort of consistency and pick the same team week in, week out.